Okay. Just about have it, I think. Oh, hello, Whitney. Okay. I think we are just about to start. No, wrong link. Okay, let's try that. Now, this. Okay. Okay. All right. I think we can start. You can look at this if you'd like. We have here the Mishnah. We are on we're moving forward. We're already on the fourth Mishnah. That means we've been doing this for already a month. It's exciting. Okay. That's all right. I'll read it out loud either way. And of course, as usual, translate as we go along. So you can follow the text if you'd like. All right. So we are, as I said, on the fourth Mishnah of Pirkei Avot, on the first chapter, and we are getting to a period of time in the Jewish history that is known as the couple era. All right, and the reason it's called the couple era is because until now we were discussing, right? We started with the first Mishnah about how Moses got the Torah from Sinai, and then it was passed down along the generations. But each generation had a single leader. Okay, and this was true until basically the time that the last Mishnah we did last week was written, and then started a period of time where the leadership of the Jewish people was already split into two different jobs. One was known as the Av Beit Din, and one as the Nasi. So one was the president, and the other one was I'll say, the supreme judge. Right? And those two people were leading the Jewish people who were left after the destruction or during the end of the time of the temple. Okay, and now for the next couple of weeks, we're gonna meet each time. Each Mishnah is gonna focus on one of them. The first one is going to be the Nasi, okay, so the president, the head, and then the second one, the supreme judge. That's always the case. And this week we're going to focus on the saying of Yosef ben Yoezer ish Tzreda. Okay, so he lived in a place called Tzreda, and next week we will meet his partner, Yosef ben Yochanan. So it's a little bit confusing. Both Yosef and Yosef were leading the Jewish community in Israel at the time. So Yosef ben Yoezer ish Tzreda ויוסף ben Yochanan ish Yerushalayim קיבלו מהם. You have the right page? I think that's last week's. יוסף בן יועזר אומר, יהי ביתך בית ועד לחכמים, והווה מתאבק בעפר רגליהם, והווה שותה בצמא את דבריהם. Okay, so Yosef ben Yoezer, who we said was the president, he would say, may your house be open, or be a place of gathering for the wise, for the chachamim, and may you find yourself dusting in the dust of their feet, and drink with thirst all their sayings. That's the literal translation. And if we look on the second, I brought a pasuk from Mishlei. It says, "Holechet chachamim yichkam, v'roa ksilim yeroa." Okay, so he who walks in the steps of the wise will become wiser, and he who walks in the pace of the less wise will find himself in a bad place. That's the meaning of that pasuk, and that's probably where Yosef ben Yoezel got the inspiration for this saying. And we're gonna break it down a little bit and see what exactly does it mean. All right, what does it mean? May your house be a place of congregation for the wise. That's understandable. All right, you want to have a nice guest, you want wise people to be your guest. That makes sense. All right, but why the term may you be dusted with the dust of their feet? Why use that term? That doesn't sound like a very respectful term. And drinking with thirst, all they have to say, all right, I understand that's a little more, let's say, a little more politically correct, but still, we'll break it down and understand why exactly he used these phrases. Okay, so if we look on the commentary of Rabbi Ovadia ben Tenura, I'm going to skip the first two lines because there he explains what I've said before about how the first was the president and the second one the Av Bet Din, or the head of the court. And now we're going to break down each and every phrase, and take a deeper look on each and every one of this. Okay, so Yehi betcha bet vad lechachamim. כשירצו החכמים להתקבץ ולהיוועד, so when the wise people want to gather together and have a discussion or bring up a topic, יהיה ביתך מוכן לדבר זה. Your house should be prepared to do exactly that. שיהיו רגילים לומר, נתקבץ בביתו של פלוני. So they get used to say, let's all gather in the house of this and this person. שאי אפשר שלא תלמוד מהם איזה דבר חוכמה. What he's saying is, once they gather at your house, you are definite to have some of their wisdom rub off on you. משלו משל למה דבר דומה. He gives a metaphor. What is this like? לנכנס לחנותו של בסם, אף על פי שלא לקח כלום, מכל מקום ריח טוב קלט והוציא עמו. Saying, if you walk into a perfume shop, first of all, how delightful is it to walk into a perfume shop? You know, my favorite aisle whenever I go shopping is the aisle of the laundry detergent. You go in and you're like, but you haven't bought anything. You don't plan on buying anything. You just get that nice smell. So he's saying this is the same. This is a metaphor for exactly what happens if you make your house a place of congregation for wise people. Some of that, all right, some of that wisdom, just being around you, is definite to find its way to you, and even more so, he's giving this in this metaphor, saying that if you walk into a perfume shop, you're going to come out with a nicer smell than you walked in, right? So if you have wise people around you, you are going to come out wiser, and I think that's a good sense of wisdom to have for life. Good philosophy for life. Surround yourself with people who will benefit you just by being around them. Okay, you don't have to necessarily engage in all their no. Just be around good people. Um, and then we're getting to we'll say the most problematic phrase. והווה מתאבק ועפר רגליהם, כלומר שתלך אחריהם. Okay, seeing the literal meaning of covering yourself in the dust of their feet means that you walk after them. Now, I don't think he means this literally, though I did hear a story once about a guy who lived in Jerusalem. I don't know the guy's name, but he met on the street Rebbe Jerusalem during the time of the British Mandate, so about 80 years ago. And he was very well known as a person of tremendous chesed. Okay, so one of the nice stories, he was not a very tall man. He was about 5 feet tall, and he lived in a very, very small and humble apartment in the neighborhood called the Nachlaot, which is nowadays in the middle of town. And because he was so short, someone once came to him and said, "Oh, Rabbi, how do you talk with?" Because he would always go and maybe go against what we're learning today, and he would go to like prisons, and he would go to hospital for people with leprosy. He would find himself surrounded by people who'd say didn't have good fortune in life, and he said, "Rabbi, why are you doing this? You're such an important rabbi. Why are you messing with all these hard cases, and why are you going to all these not so great places?" And he said, "Listen," or it would also go to places with people, not necessarily the most religious people. And what our Rebbe Levine said to this person who asked him, "Why are you affiliating yourself with all these people?" He said, "Listen, I'm short. I don't see the kippah on the head. I see straight to the heart." That's the sort of person he was. Anyway, so there's a story about a man who was also sort of I wouldn't say a criminal, but he was a well-known punk, let's say. So he met Rebbe Levine on the street. Okay, yeah, Rebbe Levine talks to him a little. Says, "How are you?" Asks him about his family. This is back in the time where Jerusalem wasn't such a big place, so everyone knew everyone. Okay, and then Rebbe Levine walks off, and this punk he sits there with his friend, and then when they get up to leave, the friend of this punk sees this guy, and he sees he's looking on the floor, trying to make sure that he's stepping in certain places. And his friend asks him, "What are you doing? Why are you walking in this weird way?" So he says, "Listen, I know I'm not the greatest human being, but I see here the footprints of Rebbe Levine, and I'm trying to walk exactly in his footsteps. Maybe a little bit of that will rub off on me." So he took this quite literally. All right. So this is exactly what Rabbi Yosef ben Yoezer is trying to tell us: is walk after the people, see how they behave. Um, And because just as we know, someone who walks on a dirt path, right, he raises a little bit of dust. That's the way it is. And that dust, even that dust, when you're talking about wise people, is worth something. All right. Now, a different explanation he gives is that the reason for this, and I think this is a little more practical reason, was that back then, what they would have is the rabbi or the person giving the lesson would sit on a bench, and everyone else wasn't much furniture. Furniture was expensive. It was very time consuming to build. So the rabbi would sit, and everyone else would sit on the floor. All right. So there you have them, sitting on the dirt at the footsteps of the teacher, of the person giving the class, and maybe that's the reason to use what nowadays looks a bit like a harsh term of find yourself dusting off in their footprints. But no, back then it was literally just go and sit in front of them and listen to what they have to say. So go take part in these lessons. I'm not saying that I'm a wise man, because I'm not, but I'm glad you're all here in this lesson. That way we can all become wiser together. All right? "והווי שותה בצמא את דבריהם כאדם צמא ששותה לתאבון." Right? You should be like a thirsty person. That these words of wisdom that they say, um, you should drink them with thirst, and not like a person who's already full and doesn't want to drink anymore. And then it's all right. So when you go and you go to acquire wisdom, definitely if it's wisdom of the Torah, but I think this is true for any sort of wisdom. What you should do is go with a sense of curiosity and mostly motivation to actually, maybe take something in, right? Not to be like a person like, oh, you tell a kid to do something and you want to, it's like, oh, do I have to? Not like that. Yeah, on the contrary, to be like, yes, tell me more. Um, tell me what there is, and with this sense of curiosity. Um, and then when you do all these stuff, you're definite to have even more of this wisdom and the spirit. Now, a question I want to raise, and I want to hear your opinion is: all right, I understand the part of you know go and listen, have them around you, but why walk after them? Why is it so important to actually go and have these people around you, except for what we said, have it rub off? What is there, maybe a different reason for um, the physical connection that he's describing here, to go and whether it's to walk after or sit down in front of? He's talking about something very, very physical. Now, you might say this is uh, this is all they had back then. This is the only type of communication. But I don't think that's true. I think even back then they were writing stuff. Why not say, all right, fill your house with books of wise people? Why the 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 physical connection, and why necessarily to go and sit down and go through all this hassle when you can say, wait a minute, I have all these words and I can easily learn what they have to say. Maybe some people find it easier. Well, I could just here's all this wisdom in a book. Why don't I just buy the book? Why should I go and meet the author? Yes, I would like to hear your thoughts. Why do you think that is?
I think even the concept of kavuta, like you need like a friend to study with, so you need someone to share ideas with, and a role model also. It's very important for that. Yeah.
All right, so you're saying something on this in this connection of physically meeting someone
Yes, yes, yes.
gives you a place to actually engage
Engage, yes, yes.
engage in
You can
thought.
have like a lot of books in your home and you study just like this, but there is
Mhm.
nobody like to contradict you or to like an opposing force. Yeah, so you need someone also.
So you're saying it's good to meet
Yeah,
the person, because that way you can get to a better and deeper understanding.
yeah,
All right, I agree.
I also think it's better to go to listen to a teacher.
Oh, I agree, but the question is mostly why. What do I gain from listening and seeing the person, as opposed to just hearing what he has to say, or
I think a
writing
good,
a text.
good example is for Moshe and his disciple Monani Joshua. So Joshua was a student of Moshe, and out of him being close to Moshe, he was regarded as the most suited to take over from him. And yeah, and you can see you have rabbis here, you have you. I see how you do your
Your
things.
behavior, so
Yeah.
like the way you do
So-
things.
The demeanor. I think it also to see someone in the flesh.
Yeah.
Yes,
The
exactly.
teacher in the flesh, to see how does he carry himself, how does he communicate,
Exactly.
how does he is he
How
respectful?
do you conduct
Does he-
yourself in
Yes,
short?
how
Yeah,
do
yeah,
you
yeah,
carry
yeah,
yourself?
and then you take it like
Because
become the
words-
role
And it's
model.
very good.
Words need action.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. Okay. Great.
I'll
So
also add, I have this Mishnah and I told you it. The way I understand it, when you explain to me, I will understand it in a different way than, better way than I thought it was.
Actually, I've been reading this Mishnah,
Yes.
the Pirkei Avot and all this. But when a rabbi teaches, it's a different
it's a different,
dimension.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I definitely, I mean, that was where I was aiming to, and I agree. There is a different, as you said, there's a different dimension. Okay, and I think if we look deeper, at the end of the day, if I sit down and I read something, I can use my eyes, maybe my voice, so I can see and I can hear. But we have other senses that come into play, all right? You don't know. It might sound funny, but like when you see this leader, how does he smell when he does this? All right. What is his facial expression? All right, that says a lot, right? Even when we talk to someone on the phone, you can tell. Is he smiling, or is he being assertive or aggressive, or is he joking around? You get a different sense of what things, what 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 he's actually saying. So yes, I can read the text, but there's a lot of things that don't you can't just have them being passed on in text. Sarcasm, for example, doesn't translate well to paper. All right, and that's why I think we'll get to the last source we have here, which is the Sefer HaChinuch. Have you ever heard of the Sefer HaChinuch?
Yeah, from different quotes, but I have never dealt with it.
Yeah, so Sefer HaChinuch, if I remember correctly, was written somewhere in the beginning of the 19th century. I'm not sure. You know what? Let's look up the history of the Sefer HaChinuch so I don't accidentally say something that isn't. Okay, so my bad. It wasn't the 18th century. It was during the 13th century. Okay. The interesting thing about the Sefer HaChinuch is that no one knows who wrote it. It's not clear. He didn't state his name anywhere. But the way it is written is it's written. He lists all of the 613 mitzvot, and he breaks them down, and he writes about everyone. Everyone he elaborates where is the source from the Torah, and he brings all these different sources to show that this is the mitzvah, and basically it's a gathering of all the 613 commands we have to do, and command number 434 happens to be שנסתווינו להתחבר ולהתדבק עם חכמי התורה. He's saying you have to connect with חכמי התורה, so the people who are the chachamim in the Torah, all right, so we're wise in the Torah. כדי שנלמד מהם, so the Torah scholars, we have to connect with them. כדי שנלמד מהם מצוותיה המכבדות. And the reasoning he gives for that is so you will learn the mitzvahs. Wait a minute, you just wrote a book. describing all these mitzvot. Why don't I read the book? For the exact same reason. ויורנו הדעות האמיתיות בה, שהם מקבלים מהם. ואז זה נאמר, בוא תדבק. So then he says more than that. It's not just to learn the mitzvah, it's knowledge. All right? It's to actually understand, the reasoning and the deot are thoughts. So the true thoughts that are in the Torah. So yes, I can say, all right, listen. The simplest reasoning for every mitzvah, right, is simple. That's what Hashem said. That's a good reasoning, and it's true. It's absolutely true. But when we get older, you're like, okay, but I want to understand why. All right? Now, you can ask maybe, is it right to ask why? I think it is true to ask why, to maybe, better understand the we'll say the heavenly thought process. I don't think it should have any effect on your action. If you don't understand the mitzvah, you don't understand the reasoning for it, you still have to do it for the first reason. But I think it's nice to better understand what is the thought process or why the reasoning for these mitzvot. Not that is the most important thing, but just it's something that gives you a little more, I'd say maybe a better understanding of the wisdom of the Torah in whole, and also say a higher motivation to do things. Okay, so if as we do today, right, there's a mitzvah to wash your hands before you eat bread. All right, and this was a mitzvah that was written over 4,000 years ago. Okay, we have to wash our hands before we eat it. Now, science is finally caught up in saying, oh, listen, you have to wash your hands. You know how many germs are on your hands when you walk around and you do all these different stuff. So you have to wash your hands. Right? But this is something that Jews have been practicing for thousands of years. Not for this reasoning, just because that's the command. But once you know that, you're like, oh, okay. It's not only good for me spiritually, but this is physically.
It's more
Yeah.
meaningful, yeah.
It's healthy on another dimension, and I think that's what's that's what gives you a higher motivation to do it. Okay, and as a proof, he gives a pasuk v'azen ne'emar uvot tidvak. Right, so in Dvarim it says uvot tidvak, referring to Hakadosh Baruch Hu. That you should stick to him. Right, and not only does it say it once, a chapter and a bit later it says it again. Uledov kabo. Okay, you need to stick to Hakadosh Baruch Hu, and then. So the Gemara raises the question, hold on a second. How can we stick to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? How can you do that? And it says, Ki Adonai Elohecha esh ochlahu. In a different source, also from the Sefer of Dvarim, it says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not only a fire, it's an eating fire. Okay, so how can you come close even? Forget stick versus like that. How can you even come close to a fire? Right? So the explanation the Gemara gives is hidabek letalmidei chachamim. Stick to people who are chachamim, or even not even chachamim. It says to the students of chachamim, and then it's as if you stuck to Hakadosh Baruch Hu. All right. So as we said, you get a better understanding of how not only I think not only what the spirit of mitzvahs are, but what should be the spirit of a person doing them. All right. So you see, let's say you see a rabbi who's he's doing a tough mitzvah, like he forgot to daven Marv. All right, he forgot to daven Marv, and it's already late at night. And he's like, oh, I got to daven Marv. That's a tough one. Because it's late and he's tired. But you see him getting up, and you see him not only getting up, but getting up with a smile. And he's already in his pajama, and he's in his bed under his covers. And he's like, nope, I got to stand up and do it. And he gets up and he puts on his clothes and he does all that. That gives you a whole different understanding of, wait a minute, that's what it means to do these mitzvahs. That's how it should look like. And I think that's what he's teaching us here. Right? It's as if you stick to Hakadosh Baruch Hu himself. And it so happens that this is the Mishnah we'll be learning, where we actually have a chance to get a sense of this, because hopefully this Shabbos, right? It's this Shabbos. We have Rabbi Joey Haber from New York coming over. Yes. It's this Shabbos that we have a big Talmid Chacham from New York. Yeah, I think I talked to his secretary yesterday. He told me he lives in New Jersey. All right, but still, a big Talmid Chacham who's going to be joining us hopefully this Shabbos, and maybe also giving a Dvar Torah. I'll raise another question and be as a food for thought. How can we incorporate this or these words of guidance into our everyday lives in the modern age, right? How can we make our house a place of bet vad lechachamim, where people nowadays meet less and less. So how do we turn our house to a place of congregation for the wise? How do we dust off in their feet? And how do we drink with thirst their words in the modern age?
Like today, we are here.
Is that in your house?
And the house is a different story. Where did we get coming from?
But what I would answer is open your house to everybody. Let everybody know that they are welcomed.
Oh, that ties into next week's Mishnah, but we'll get to that.
Look for the wise.
Stay tuned.
I think you have to get books of wise people, reading, and if you have a family, teach them. Yes.
Or you can invite a wise person to your house and invite people also to come for him to have a lecture in your house, and maybe offer something like tea and something to encourage, because that even blesses your house as well, your children. And
Okay, I like that thought. I want to propose also something a little more, I'd say, practical to everyday lives. All right? Show your kids that you can open up the internet and you can find anything.
Yeah.
Why not find a good Torah lesson? Why not, invite, right, these wise people into your house in that way, right? I think we have an advantage that we live in the modern days that, as you said, books, but you can do so much more, Instead of you can show your child or your other household member that you can open Disney Plus, but you can also open Torah Plus, if that exists. I don't know if that exists, but it's your decision. And I'm not saying that Disney Plus is wrong. I'm just saying it's the atmosphere and the sort of spirit you want to give to your house. Shalom v'racha. Okay, and if Boaz is here, that's a sign that I need to go warm up the dinner. So please, help yourself for tea or
Last question.
Yes, go ahead.
Can someone get all this knowledge without becoming wise? like you can, yes, you can you read all these like materials and not get the sense of wisdom of all of this.
That's a good question.
Yes,
Okay, because
because you can just read and cram everything.
yeah. Can someone become smart without becoming wise?
Yes,
And the answer is obviously yes. But I do think that the wisdom of the Torah is a bit different in that way. That even just gaining the knowledge, it has an effect on you because it's such, or we believe it to be such a spiritual thing, the Word of God. Your soul and your neshama cannot be completely, indifferent to these stuff, and that's what we discussed also last week. I think it was last week. We were talking about, do you have to have intention in doing mitzvot? And the answer is yes. That's the best thing. But even when you don't have the intention, you should go ahead and do them, because even these small actions, they have an influence. And what the words that the Gemara use, mitoch shelo lishma, so out of no intention comes intention. Mitoch shelo lishma ba lishma. Okay, so this is, I'd say, a little different than other. Um, it's not like mathematics, all right, where you can know everything and and still say the Earth is flat. Um, it's not the same. It's a little bit different. Obviously, it also depends on how someone is open to it. Obviously, someone can come and all his motivation is to come and see how oh, this pasuk doesn't make sense with that pasuk, and then it's not going to help. But once someone comes with a little bit more openness, I think,
Penetrate.
yeah, God's word has a way to penetrate and find a way into the neshama. Okay, thank you for all of you for joining at home. We will now end the stream, and we'll see you next
Joseph,
week.
is it possible to have also English translation?
I'll try. It's some of these stuff don't translate well.